So we're just going to kick off with a few slides first. I'm going to talk a little bit about mission control and our background, highlight some of the features that we're going to go through today, and then we're going to get stuck straight into the demo of the platform. So I'm just going to wait 30 more seconds, and I'm going to get started. Throughout the kind of presentation, please jump in and ask any questions. I've got the chat open. Feel free to raise your hand if you really wanted to, but happy for you to just jump in as well. I want to try to keep it as interactive as possible, so I'm not talking the whole time. But yeah, let's get started. So, welcome everybody. We run these webinars on a monthly basis. I'm based in Cairns, Australia, and I manage the west coast of the US, then coming all the way down to manage APAC. Um, I've got some colleagues that are spread across the globe. Um, as I mentioned, I'm based in Australia. We've got Julian, who's based out of Canada. He manages the east coast of the US, east coast of Canada, and EMEA. And then my colleague Lexi, who manages central US. So three account executives across the globe. As I mentioned, we run this on a monthly basis. So my month is this month, and the next month will be Julian's. Some other people I just wanted to highlight as well. So our CRO, Corey Kleinbauer, he's based out of Boston. He manages the three of us and, teams up with us to work with our customers and potential customers. I've got a photo of Colin Johnson there as well, who's our CEO and co-founder of Mission Control and runs Aprica. And you can see he's been in the Salesforce ecosystem for a very long time, pretty much, around when it started. So he's pretty well known around these parts. And then my colleague Victor, who heads up our professional services team. So if you become a customer of Mission Control, or you are a customer of Mission Control and you need any kind of work done, help, training, Victor's your guy. So this is our kind of go-to-market team here. A little bit of history around us. So we've been around for about 15 years. Colin became an SI partner with our co-founder Chris, and they needed a tool to be able to manage their day-to-day better. So they worked on building Mission Control together. They started to use it for themselves, and here we are selling it now. So this is kind of where we came from. We've got customers across 25 countries. We've got, over 12,000 global users. We've had about 1 million projects put into our system, and about 12 million time logs. So definitely being used a lot around the world. And we don't really work with any kind of specific industry. Just going into a little bit about what it is or why Mission Control. We're native to Salesforce, so this is probably one of the biggest selling points that we have. Being native to Salesforce, removes any kind of barriers and removes any need for integration. You open up your Salesforce account and we are there ready to be used. This works out of the box and no implementation required. The reason that we put that there is really, if you wanted to, you could install the Mission Control package into your backend, and you could start using it pretty much straight away without any kind of customization needed. Of course, we can customize it, which a lot of our customers opt in for. We want to make sure that it matches your process. But realistically, if you wanted to use this out of the box, yeah, we work out of the box, which is fantastic. The ways that we enable our users. So I showed you the photo of Victor. He obviously runs our professional services team. So when we go through an implementation, there is a training aspect, but we've also got a learning portal which comes with its own certification. So if you wanted to become a Mission Control expert, we've got some courses that you can do. There's an expert course that I had to complete as part of my onboarding, and I found it really, really helpful to get across the functionality of the platform. So really, really good education piece there. We've also got global support. So I mentioned I'm based in Australia. I've got colleagues that from our support team in Australia. I've got colleagues that are based out of the US that run our support. So you've pretty much got 24/7 support there. If you submit a ticket, late afternoon in APAC, somebody in the US will pick it up. So we've got, yeah, coverage all there. A little bit about us, I guess, and how we kind of compete against our competitors in the space. I don't really like to focus too much on, why we're better. I think everybody has their own kind of quirks and features that they like to highlight. But one thing that I do really like to point out is the response from our customers. So you can see there that our NPS score is sitting at about 81. Really, if you compare that to not just who we compete with, but SaaS in general, that's really in that kind of high bar there. So awesome feedback from all of our customers. We can see there that 82% of people say the ease of use is there, and 88% of people meets their requirements, which I think is really fantastic. Another thing that I like to highlight on this page as well is just the amount of time that it takes to go live on average. So you can see here around 4 weeks time, about 88% of our customers. That 3 to 6 month part, 12%. Now, I would say this is for our clients that are, heavily customizing or, doing some kind of like custom work. It does take a little bit longer. But yeah, around 88% of our customers are getting up and running in about a month's time, which is great. I don't want to focus too much on this, but the reason that I like to show this is really to show that we do work with a number of different industries. So, you can really use Mission Control in a lot of different businesses, a lot of different business types. And you can see there on the left-hand side, they're kind of the main ones that we work with. But, I'm seeing new industries come on board the longer that I work here, which I think is fantastic. So, yeah, we're spread across a lot of industries. Now, when we're doing work with customers as part of, them becoming, part of the kind of Mission Control family, I would do what we call like an ROI exercise with them. And it's based on this report that we ran a few years back. But the two main ones that really are, a customer will come to me and say, hey, we're trying to increase revenue, we're trying to increase profit. These are the two things that I really like to focus on. So we can see there that we've had about an increase in revenue by about 4 to 43%, right? That's quite broad, but it really depends on the business. But we've had some customers that have been able to increase their revenue by 40%, and around 4. So we sit in the middle, I would say, when we're doing this exercise. And then the increase in profit, we've got the 7 increase in margin. We've had some people with about 32 increase in profit. So yeah, again, quite broad, but we're really assisting businesses in doing this. And I would say the main reasons is visibility, consolidation, ease of use. So just having technology in place in general is really supporting us to get to those numbers. So what we're going to go through today, I'll highlight on this page, but this is something we call a feature wall, and this is really all the different areas that we're covering at the moment. So resource management, when we're creating any kind of project, we can include billing and cost rates. We can assign work or assign people to work based on the team or the skills that they have. We're able to manage all that work through a scheduler. So, being able to visualize where people have worked, how many hours they've been allocated, are we getting close to their allocation limit? So the scheduler is a really good kind of place to see, at a glance where everybody's sitting. We have some tools like a resource assignment wizard and an order assignment, where maybe we've got an individual working on something, but we need to swap that out and get another person on there. We've got some really, really good tools there as well. If we're doing any kind of reporting or measuring of what our individuals are doing, we've got a role utilization report, which I think is really helpful if you're running one-on-ones with your staff, or you'd like to see any kind of bottlenecks in the org. That role utilization report is going to be really important. And we can also manage holidays. So if somebody's on leave, we obviously don't want to allocate them to work. So we've got that holiday management within the system as well. From a project management perspective on a day-to-day, we can generate projects automatically based on different parts of Salesforce. So it's really up to you how you'd like to trigger it. But as an example, maybe we want to do it through an opportunity, which is what I'm going to actually do today. We've got some product auto generation. So let's say as an example, you have a Salesforce opportunity and you utilize their products feature. We can generate parts of a project based on the products that we add in there, which I think is really good. We can get the sales team to request projects. So maybe we work, side by side with the sales team. they're getting close to closing a deal. We want them to kind of say, hey, we need to request an individual to be able to do this work. We've got that functionality in there. And we heavily rely on templates as well. So we want to try to speed up the process of project generation. So we utilize templates with the ability to be able to clone. Now, the managing of the projects day to day, we work with Agile, Waterfall, pretty much any kind of project structure. You've got an overview of the entire project, which we're going to go through today. We've got a Kanban and a Gantt chart, which we're going to go through today. The baseline tracking sits on the Gantt chart, so I'll cover on that. The Gantt chart also has dependencies and maps out our critical path. If you, throughout any kind of project management, are raising risks that are then getting promoted to like an issue, we do risk and issue management within the system as well. And we've also got a PMO dashboard to be able to track our profit and loss. Some other things that we might be able to do too is run retrospectives, which is then going to give us our lessons learned. I think this is always a helpful process, especially when you're running, lots of projects. We want to see where the wins are. We want to see where the losses are. From a time tracking perspective, we can track billable and non-billable, which I think is really important. To make it a little bit easier for individuals to track their time, we've got a start and stop tracker, which I think is a really cool feature. And everybody submits their time sheets within Mission Control as well, which is going to help us with our project financials, which can go into I'll go through an approval process, which I would say most of our clients take advantage of. We can track all of our project financials within the system as well. So our revenue, our costs, our profit and loss, as I mentioned earlier. If you have budgets that you're working towards when, tracking projects, we can include our budgets in there as well. Once the work is completed or as the work is being completed, depending on how you bill your customers, we can raise purchase orders. End users can track their expenses, which can also go through an approval process. And then we can raise invoices and invoices for payments, which I think is really awesome too. Revenue recognition is included, and we also support that multi-currency support as well. Program management. So if you're working on really large kind of programs or portfolios for an individual customer, we can manage our programs through Mission Control. When we're developing our programs, we can set requirements at the beginning. So maybe we're developing a web page or an app or something that requires like a storyboard, which will then turn into like a project builder. And we've got that Gantt chart and whiteboard there as well. So the last two here, we've got collaboration. So we utilize or we can integrate with Chatter, or it's kind of included in the system. So you might be working on a project and you want to chatter a colleague that's working on it with you. That functionality sits in there. Files are all very similar to the Salesforce functionality. So being able to attach files, we can generate a status report for our customers on a weekly basis. And we can also offer them a read-only page, which is a really, really cool feature. And then our productivity tools, we've got a couple of logs and risk logs and our Kanban whiteboard as well. Now, before we jump into the webinar, I just wanted to show you a really quick case study, which I'm happy to share with you all afterwards. But this is a customer of mine, Brands. They're based out of NZ. And when they came to us, they had a bit of an efficiency problem, scattered systems, working out of spreadsheets. And since using Mission Control, they've been able to increase their efficiency by about 30%. So they've been able to deliver 30% more projects and research with their customers, which I just think fantastic work there. Alrighty, so any questions? Anybody wants to chuck a question in the chat potentially? Just wait a couple of seconds. Alrighty. All good. So getting into the system now. I mentioned a couple of times we're native to Salesforce. So, you can see here that I'm logged into my Salesforce account. And I've got a Mission Control dashboard that's popped up. So this is a dashboard that's pre-built that you have access to. There's two that we've got. This is a really good one. But again, native to Salesforce, I haven't had to log into Mission Control. I don't have a separate login for that. As soon as you log into Salesforce, you see the Mission Control system. So I've got this set up where when I open up this account, this dashboard is shown. But maybe what we might want to do is we might want to have it open up to our mission control console. So the way we've designed this is to kind of look and feel like Salesforce, same colors, same buttons. And this here mission control tab and this mission control console, it's like a quick launch section. So our launch pad, you can see a couple here that I would say, would probably be heavily used, creating a fresh project from scratch or creating or cloning a project from a previous project that we've done, a template. From here, we can do create new roles, create new teams, a lot of different options that you've got there. Our progress pad, these are our tools that we're managing or using to manage our projects. So you can see here over my whiteboard or my Kanban board, we call it a whiteboard. Maybe I need to submit some timesheets. Maybe I need to log some expenses. So again, quick actions from this section. And then our management pad, maybe we want to have a look at our Gantt chart, our resource planner, or our role utilization report. So really this section here is just to get you to a section in mission control. And then lastly, our control pad is where all of our settings sit. So I'm not going to go through this because it's going to be a little bit overwhelming. But yeah, just wanted to really highlight, I guess, what these different tabs do here in our mission control console. So generally when we get a new customer on board, part of the implementation process would be helping you set up your account or, training you on how to set up the account. And the very first thing that we want to do is we want to create roles for individuals. So a role for a person is a person that's working on projects, could be an external stakeholder, somebody working in a business, the customer. And then we can also create some what we call asset roles, which I use for stakeholder placeholders. So just going up to this top tab here, and you can see here that roles is an object. And I've got a list of different roles that are working in my, dummy organization. So one thing that I'll point out is you can see here I've got this placeholder role. And what this is saying really is, a person that's a consultant in my organization, they're roughly getting paid, or we're billing for their work at about $186 per hour, and we're paying them about $65 per hour, right? So I'll explain why we use these placeholder roles, but yeah, just keep this in mind as I'm going through the functionality. So let's actually click on a real person. So we'll use Alana as an example, and I actually want to have a look at her role record. So again, these pages, they look very similar to our Salesforce records. We've designed it to be that way, so that it doesn't seem like we're, using a completely different platform. But this houses all of the really important information that underpins a lot of the work that we do in the system. So we've got their details, basic details. Alana's a consultant. She works in the consultant team. And then I would have her details here as well. The resource settings section. So we specify how many hours per week we want Alana to be working. So 40 hours. And we want about 80% of that work to be billable work. So, we can set a billable target. And then as Alana creates timesheets and she marks timesheets as billable work or non-billable work, it's going to start to populate a lot of the financial data that sits within our projects. So 40 hours per week, I've broken that down to 8 hours per day over a 5-day period. And I've got her billable hourly rate and her cost hourly rate there as well. So just clicking in to expand a little bit further on this role record. Just give that 1 second to load. Internet's running a bit slow. So a couple of things to point out on this page. So this is the settings or the record that we're editing. One thing that we always do with users within the Mission Control account is we will assign them to a team and we would specify what their master team is. And we would assign a set of skills for them as well. So we can allocate people to work based on the team that they're a part of. And this ties into my placeholder roles. So we can see here that Alana is a part of the consultants team and that's her master team. So if I open up a template of work and I've got those placeholder roles, I can then replace the consultant placeholder with Alana because she's a part of this consultants team. Now, skills as well, maybe we've got work that we're doing for a customer that requires a set of skills as well as proficiencies. And we utilize that to be able to filter down who's going to be the best person for that piece of work. So this is really, really important to populate here. And then you can see as an example, I've got some other ones like language, English. Um, so the skills can be broken up into, yeah, different categories too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a process or a bit of a flow of work of, generally how customers are using Mission Control. But I'm going to come back to this page in particular, this project overview settings page in particular. So going to an opportunity record, opportunity is a Salesforce object. And because we're fully integrated with Salesforce, we can add, specific fields and related lists to our opportunities. So this looks, pretty straightforward. The UI might be a little bit different for you guys, but same process opportunity-wise. I've got my stages at the top. I've got my, mission control generation method down the bottom. So I've said here, when we get this project to a opportunity to a specific stage, I actually want to automatically generate a project based on what I specify here. So this is some additional fields that I've added in. I've got my project amount, which we can carry over to the project as well. And then I've created a flow in the back end to say, once my project hits the closed won stage, once my opportunity hits the closed won stage, I want to automatically generate a project. So I'm going to do that process now. So select, we'll hit close won, go save. And in the back end right now, Salesforce is generating a project for this opportunity. So I'm just going to hit this refresh page here. And then we can see here that my project is got one there now, webinar implementation. So that's actually pulled the name of the opportunity across to the project name. And it's actually utilizing this template here. So we can map as many fields as you like from the op to go to the project that sits in our backend settings that we can walk you through. So clicking into the project now, this has generated from work that we've previously done. So part of the implementation process, we'll try to create as many templates with you as possible. And generally it's going to be in line with the work that you do, right? So then we can speed up the process when it comes to, generating new projects. Now, one thing that I'm going to point out, and then I'm going to quickly go back to the role record, and then we'll jump back into the project. But this top bar here, you'll see insights, overview, detail, and then a range of different options, right? When I go back to Alana's record, we can see here project overview settings, and then I've got these options here. Now, this is where we can hide certain parts of the project from individuals. So, maybe my team, they are not involved in the billing, as an example. So I would remove the billing from there. I would remove the budgets, as an example, right? So we can strip this back as much as you like, or we can give them access to everything. It's completely up to you. But yeah, just wanted to kind of highlight that you're in full control of what they can and what they cannot see. All right, so going back to the project now, we'll go through a couple of tabs here, I guess things that I think are really important to highlight. This Insights tab is a really good one. Now, this is really a high-level overview of where the project is at. So we want to click into an individual project. We want to see what the budget is, how much of the work has been completed, how's our burn down running, how much work has been completed that is billable, so how much can we charge our customer, how many hours do we have remaining, outside of the amount that's scheduled. If we can track our profit and loss as well. And as we start to raise invoices as the work gets completed, or once the work is completed, it's going to have a history there, and it's going to track what has been invoiced and what's been paid. So very high level overview of that information. And again, going back to Alana's record, we can see here the project overview insight chart settings. We can actually hide specific parts of the chart as well. So it doesn't have to have absolutely everything in there. Now, the next thing that I like to show is our project overview. So this is actually how we break down the work that we're doing with our customers. And we have a 7-layer project structure. So I mentioned earlier that we do program management. So at the top of a program, we've got what we call a portfolio. Where I see this being used is, you might have a large customer, you're running multiple projects for them at the same time. So we would create a portfolio for that customer, and we would have a lot of projects sitting under that kind of umbrella there. So portfolio sits at the top. We then go down one step to programs. Then we go to our project. And this project here, this is where that level kicks in. So I would say generally most of our customers start at the project level. And then we've got, a range of customers that are using that portfolio and program management as well. So we're at the project level now, and then underneath our project, we've got what we call milestones. So these blue line items in the work breakdown structure are our milestones. And you can see here, now I've pulled this across as a template, but it's kept the total hours scheduled for this particular milestone. Based on the start and end dates that I set within the opportunity, it's created the start and end dates in here for me as well. And then the other thing to highlight as well is I've got my placeholder role here. So what this is saying is I know that I need a project manager to complete this work, but I just don't know who yet. So milestones are next level. Then we go down one more step, two more steps, sorry. So the next one is we've got actions. And then you can see here, my total hours scheduled is 36, and that's been broken up into these individual task line items, which then rolls up to the milestone, and then we'll roll up to the overall project as well. Now we can go one step further and include what we call checklist items. So this sits underneath my individual action. And then as people are completing work, they can tick off these checklist items, and they can log time against these green actions, we call them, which really are just the tasks that they're doing. So awesome work breakdown structure. I think visually it's really good to be able to see, in stages what's to come. And through here, we can assign our work to individuals as well. So let's just collapse this just to simplify it a little bit. And I'll just walk through these different items across. So we've got our milestone name, we've got our owner. We can set budgets against these milestones as well, which I went through in the slides. We've got our statuses. So this is sitting in planned at the moment. As we start to do the work, it'll say in progress. And then once complete, it'll be completed. We've got our start and end dates. And then on the right-hand side here, we've got the option to edit it. We've got the option to create new actions or tasks against there. We can utilize chatter, or we can delete it if we wanted to delete it. Now, expanding to our actions, you can see here that on the right-hand side, we've got a lot more options. So this first box here is we actually want to assign this task or this action to one of my employees, one of my roles. So we call this the assignment wizard. And when we click on this, it's going to open up a page, and it's going to give us a couple of tools that we can work with. So we can see here that we've got our overarching owner of this particular action as a project manager. But then I've actually got something called contributors as well. So, maybe I'm working on a piece of work, but I've got colleagues or people in my team that I need that I need to assist me. We can actually add stakeholders, contributors to this piece of work as well. So right now, what I want to do is I want to go and do a search in my project manager's team, right? So on the role record, I had that master teams box ticked. So if anybody that has a role and has project managers set as their master team, when I go for a search, it's going to give me only those individuals that are in there. So right now I've got two project managers that are working for me. I've got Josh and I've got Kelly. I can see that Josh actually isn't allocated to any work for this week. So I'm more than happy to put him in there as the project manager. And then what I want to do is go back to the search. Let's have a look for a solutions architect. We'll do a designer instead. Go for a search. We can see here that I've got my two designers, so Lane and Owen. I'll get Lane to give Josh a hand, and I'll delete these other contributors as well. So very easily, I've gone and I've searched for the correct person for the work. Now, these kind of hours total boxes that we've got here, it looks for a couple of things. So first is going to look for Is the person a part of the right team? The second is, are they already allocated to work for that particular day or that particular week? And that's going to be based on the 40 hours total that I set on that role record. So, on Alana's record, I had 40 hours per week, 8 hours per day. Let's say Lane was very similar, and I've got Lane scheduled for 7 hours. That's going to show either an amber color or a red color. Um, so yeah, and it's really looking for that hours total. So that's one way that we can assign people to the work, right? I can do it individually if I wanted to. The other option is we can come up here and I can utilize a tool called the auto assignment wizard. And this is actually going to be Mission Control going and finding and then recommending who they think is going to be the best fit for that piece of work. So I've got my recommended. I'm going to do it by master team. So I want it to go and look for project managers. I want it to look for consultants. So let's click this assign button. We've got our little mascot Cosmo going across the conveyor belt. It's just doing a bit of a think in the background. And then what it's going to do is it's going to recommend what it thinks is going to be the best people for this piece of work. Okay, so we can see here that it's got placeholders at the top, and generally they're going to be at the top because they're not really actually assigned to anything. But we can see here that I've got for a solutions architect, I've got Mick. For my consultant, I can add Bethany. For my trainer, let's do Julian. And then for my project manager, we'll do Josh. So let's hit assign. It's thinking in the background. And then what it's going to do is it's going to then assign each individual to their respective placeholder positions. So we've got 352 hours scheduled total. When I hit refresh on this now, and I go back to my overview page, we can see here that I've got individuals assigned. So very, very straightforward. I think when we're working in, fast-paced environments, projects are coming in all the time. We've got a handful of people that are assigning individuals to work. These features are going to be really helpful in speeding up that process. Now, before we jump into the next section, just a couple of other things that I'll highlight on this right-hand side here. So from here, we can log time, and we log time against these actions. So I can click on this log time button here, and a timesheet option comes in. We can set the date of the work that we've been done. I don't have any types in this, but maybe it's a billable, non-billable specific work. If you wanted to categorize it in a certain way, I mark non-billable here. We can assign it or we can relate it to checklist items, which are those individual tick box items that I showed earlier. Maybe we want to add some notes in here as we're creating our timesheet. But once I've done that piece of work, I'm going to say, hey, I've done, maybe 4 hours on this. I'm at about 80% completion. We'll say it's in progress. And then I can log my time against that piece of work. Give that a few seconds to think. Okay, awesome. So I've got now, if I hit I don't actually have to. So first draft solutions, 24 hours scheduled. I've completed 4. It's completed about 16% there. So really, really nice and easy. You can also log time down the bottom here if you wanted to. Now, because I haven't clicked it on the specific action, we can see that this hasn't been populated. So I would just have to search the action, but it has pulled the project that I'm working on mainly because I'm on this webinar here. So that's another way we can log time, and then I'll show you another timesheet section shortly. All right, let's just have a quick look at the chat to see if we have any questions. Okay, nothing's come through just yet, which is good. All right, so going along this top section, so these are tools that are included on the project specifically. So we've got a details tab, which is going to have a very similar Salesforce record type, which has just got a bunch of information. We can track our budgets through here as well. And we can add in budgets as we're working. We can have a look at any time logs that have been created. So here's that time log that I created earlier. We can generate uh, PDF versions of it as well. If you're logging any kind of expenses, we can create expenses in this page. Now, going to a couple of the tools that we use to manage our day-to-day. We've got our whiteboard. We call it a whiteboard. It's a Kanban board. And this is a really good place to just see, hey, what am I working on? What actions have we completed? What are the statuses of these actions? So you can see here that I can drop and drag stuff as I'm working. That first one that was there was in progress because of the timesheet that I created earlier. But this is another way that we can do it as well. The other thing too that we can do is we can expand these kind of cards that we've got here. And you'll notice that these symbols on the right-hand side, very, very similar to the work breakdown structure. So utilize chatter, create checklist items, raise risks and issues, create a timesheet against this as well. So we've got those quick launch options there. The next thing that is heavily, heavily utilized within mission control projects is our Gantt chart. So on the left-hand side here, we've got our work breakdown structure. So very similar to this overview tab. We've just got it to the right of the Gantt, left of the Gantt chart. I can expand this. So here are my milestones, right? And then I can go a step further and I've got my actions and checklist items too. So we've got dependency functionality as well. So let's say as an example, I know that I need to create this particular milestone before I start this bit of work. And this is going to really assist when we're rescheduling stuff. So we can create the parameters in which the spacing happens. We've got the ability to create our actions as well, dependencies. So you can see here, I've got a lot of squiggly lines as dependencies that are set there. And anything that I kind of reschedule as I'm working, we want to make sure that obviously everything is happening in line. One feature that I really like on this page as well is being able to show my baseline. So critical path, the yellow line down the bottom is where the work's sat to start. And then as I reschedule work, we can track the variances between that difference, right? So I think it's always good when we're running retrospectives or we're trying to figure out, hey, are we running to plan, to be able to see that, baseline start and end dates. We've got some export options as well. So PDF export, CSV, PNG, and we can also do Microsoft projects as well. Obviously, Projects Online is being discontinued towards the end of this year. So yeah, if you wanted to utilize that, you will be able to utilize that pretty much until that's end of life. Alrighty, so we don't need to go through that. So this is just the project object. This houses all of the projects. So you can see here I've got a number of kind of template options and non-template options. The next thing that I'll go through is what we call the scheduler. So this is going to be really, really helpful for individuals that are allocating people to work. It can be utilized if you're just wanting to see what you're scheduled to or against, or, are you getting to your total hours? But I would say this is heavily used by our individuals that are allocating people to work. So I really like this hours total tab mainly because it's visually easy to understand. And we can see here as an example, Bethany, I've got her scheduled for the week of the 16th for 44 hours or for 47 hours for Carissa. Obviously, we've over allocated work to them, right? So this is going to really help us when we've got new deals that are coming through the pipeline. We're winning business. We're running projects for individuals. We want to make sure that the people we're allocating, have the time to be able to work on those. We've also got an actions view. So this is a view that shows the tasks that an individual is allocated to. I've got it broken up into week. We could look at it by day if we wanted to get a little bit more granular. We can also look at it by months and hours too. So months is going to be, there's going to be a lot of room on there. So let's say days as an example. I want to have a look at what Bethany's working on. I can actually reallocate work here as well. So I might say, hey, instead of Bethany working on this, I want to get Colin to work on that as well. On the left, right-hand side here, you'll see that 8 out of the 80 hours that he's scheduled on, and that's going to start to increase or decrease depending on what he's allocated to. So very visually nice to work with. I think this hours total is an awesome one. I've seen kind of firsthand customers working with sales teams. The sales teams have said, hey, I'm going to close this deal. Can you check if Bethany is available, the week of the second. But I can see, Bethany's obviously not going to be available that week. Maybe towards the end of the week there. So I showed you the Kanban board within the project. We've also got like a master Kanban board. We've also got a master Gantt chart, which I'll show you here in a second. But this is if we want to have a look at all of our projects in the one place. So I think this is really good again for the individuals that are allocating, or maybe as an individual contributor, we just want to see, what I'm working on at the moment. And we can change the column headings as well. So maybe by owner. Maybe we want to use this to reschedule work too. So I know Josh is working on this Gen webinar project, but actually I might allocate that to Bethany instead, as an example. Again, we've got these quick launch options here. And yeah, we can expand or collapse. Now we've also got the master Gantt chart. So I think this is an awesome tool. Based on my research at the moment through our kind of competitors, not many Gantt charts offer the ability to create inter-project dependencies. So as an example, let's say, I know Josh is working on this Billabong webinar demo, and he's also working on this mission control implementation. So I've scheduled him on for both, but I need to make sure that, Josh is completing this work before he starts on this work. So these are dependencies between the projects, which I think is really awesome. And we can still do that even with our actions as well. So I've got this project that's connected to this project now. Let's get really, really granular. And I actually want to create a dependency between these two tasks or these two actions. And then if I'm rescheduling work, that's going to completely reschedule everything that's dependent on it as well. So I think, yeah, really, really awesome functionality there. Now, the last thing that I like to go through is just a little bit more information about our timesheets. So I mentioned that we've got the ability to create timesheets in a number of different sections. But this is probably, I would say, the easiest. Probably the easiest way to be able to kind of see work that people are scheduled on. I'm just trying to find a page that's got a few options. Here we go. That's a good one. Okay, so we can see here that Josh is working on two things at the moment. So reverse demo one, reverse demo two for this date period that we've set. Now, typically what I would say you would see in an account is a whole page of these, right? Everybody's working on different stuff at the same time. But this is a really nice and easy way to go in and just log time against work that you're doing. So I know as an example, I did 2 hours on the Monday, I did 2 hours on the Tuesday, one on the Thursday, and I did, three here, three here, three there as an example. So really nice and easy to be able to put the total hours in. I can also double click into this, and it's going to give me a very similar page to that timesheet section that I showed you earlier. But it's stripped back because we're inputting a lot of that information in this section here. So I can add my notes in there. I can set a completion percentage. Time log type sits in there as well. And then I can hit save. So that's how they can create the timesheets. I would say probably the easiest way. We can see here it says track time. So I can come in here and actually start this as a timer. So I'm about to start the work, click the timer, finish the work, and then I can come back and I can stop that. It's going to ask for notes. And yeah, probably I would say the more accurate way to track our time. We can also submit these timesheets for approval. So that's kind of in the settings, who that person's manager is or direct report. So you can see here it says save and submit timesheet. So once that's submitted, that's going to go to an individual and go through an approval process. And then depending on what project that's allocated to, that'll then, log time against that. Another way that we can log time as well is using what we call the calendar converter. So we can integrate this with your calendar. It's going to pull the meetings that'll then be related to that particular task. And then I'll be able to click into I'll be able to click into that meeting and log time this way. So it's kind of up to you how you'd like to do it. I've got a lot of customers that use the calendar converter, and then I've got a lot of customers that, yeah, use this timesheet section. Okay, so let's have a look. Any questions in the chat? All right, awesome. So we will send out a copy of the recording for today for those that registered. Thank you to everybody that did join. Any questions that you've got, feel free to reach out. My details will be in that email. As I mentioned earlier, my role is to bring potential clients or new clients on board. And I also manage them long term as an account manager too. So happy to help out where I can. But yeah, thank you all for joining, and we will catch up in a month's time.